So, it's finally out. Been out for a little bit actually. Not here though, at least not yet. The only legal way to watch EZY File 1 is importing the Blu-ray from Japan. No English subtitles either. I hope you took some time to study Japanese if you do get your hands on it. Furthermore, here we are. EZY File 1 has been released to a success. EZY will be ranked 8th in box office attendance between May 15th and May 17th, and was projected to earn a total of 130 million yen. Reviews are mostly positive, coming from longtime fans, though there is a sizable amount of people who are a bit more critical to it. I have my own thoughts on it, but I'd like to get a few things out of the way first, basically catching up where we left off the last video. First, we'll do a lightning round of the rest of the characters labeled on the website. Shige is back and probably retired, working as an advisor for Division 2's maintenance team. Yuichi Saito is the new head of the maintenance team, a kind and generous man, whom of which his own mechanics have nothing but the utmost respect for. And at his side is his own Shige in the form of Kurumi Terada, an avid gamer with a cynical view of the world. Kanji Kunikita is the new leader of Division 1, a polite yet meticulous person, and a self-admitted kind person. Above everyone else, you have Kotaro Yasui, a gentle old man who was the chief of Section 2, and surprise surprise, Ota and Shinji returned too. Shinji now working for Aztec Auto, as noted here in Tsuchigumo, aka the X13's infobox. Aztec Auto apparently is Asuma's new company, and they seem to have procured a surplus X13 from the US military for Episode 3's plot. You also have the Hercules-powered Kai, the final evolution of the Hercules series with a higher drive output. Originally I failed to notice that it also has two different manipulator types. We of course already know about the Zero and the Helldiver though. You also have Yamatsukami, a guardian deity in the plot of the film for Episode 3, which is actually a dolphin. Back to the characters, a lot of the descriptions may seem to be short and vague, but I think that's due to the information loosely being based on what's presented in all 3 episodes. It's highly likely that we'll take the time to learn more about them and who they are with more episodes. This next part will basically be my own takeaway from File 1. Don't worry, no spoilers. This will just be my thoughts that you can use as reference for when you start watching File 1, if it ever gets subtitled, or maybe if you've already seen it then you can just use it to add on to it. For starters, I can say that yes, I found Patlabor EZY's comedy to be pretty funny. There were moments in all 3 episodes where I did laugh out loud, whether there was supposed to be a joke or gag, or just the situation they'd find themselves in. I thought it was a fun time all around, but beyond that, we also have the new cast, which I do find myself growing attached to. If I'm not terribly interested in the band of characters, I tend to forget their names. I'm a forgetful person, but I thought they were pretty expressive and memorable. Episode 2's premise was taken advantage of to not only deliver some pretty good action, but also further characterize each member of Division 2. Without saying too much, you'll be able to derive the basics of who they are from the decisions they make in the episode. And I think this is largely where the descriptions from the website come from. Let's not forget our new main poster girl, Toa Kuga. Oh boy, Toa. I at first had this general view of her, if that makes sense. She didn't look too flashy, just a regular girl. So my expectations weren't adjusted for the kind of personality she has. She's got spunk and energy, a little too much energy at times. She's definitely not Noah again. This is an entirely new person. I hope they keep writing her as a little weird with a little too much energy. It reminds me of Haruhi Suzumiya, which I love Haruhi. I think some characters such as Saiki and Teppei require more screen time and or character moments too. Saiki herself was pretty normal throughout the whole thing, and Atori had fun moments, but I think as Toa's backup, he deserves a bit more. This is still File 1, and File 2 was announced around the release of the first batch of episodes, and it looks like we'll get more moments between Toa and Atori, and maybe one that'll touch on the captain and the commander side of things. The legacy characters that do appear and go mentioned are fun additions, and initially I was afraid that they would steal all the spotlight from the new cast, but I don't think they overstayed their welcome and overshadowed the new cast. People will suggest that the characters themselves are too bland or uninteresting or too unoriginal. First off, for that last one, that's just not true. You can see where their designs may take inspiration from based on the previous cast in some way, shape, or form, but when you actually see them in action, the similarities end there. And with what they were able to do with them so far, I believe to be sufficient enough for what we have. It's best to approach this from the perspective of working within the first 3 episodes of what's going to be an original 8-episode OVA. I'm sure if Early Days stopped at episode 3, the 450 million year old trap, we'd be having similar conversations in regards to character development. But as we know, it had several more episodes released over the course of the year. The EZY cast as of right now, of course, will pale in comparison to the Division 2 we've grown to love. And that is primarily because we've had decades of content, anime, movies, manga, books, and all kinds of supplementary materials to consume regarding the cast. They're going to leave a strong impression that cannot be matched. EZY's world is just getting started, and we'll need to put in the legwork to catch up to the legacy of the original team. And so far, it's a little too early to judge. I am of the opinion that if they continue to work off the archetypes of the characters, we'll have a cast that still may not rival the original. I mean, come on, there's no running back something as strong as Patlabor was in the modern day, but will still be just as satiating. I should also note that in comparison to the original cast, the new team and characters may seem a bit more subdued, making Toa stand out more against them. This will come off as a little odd and explain why they may not be as interesting to some, but I think I have an explanation. Patlabor EZY is pretty analogous to the manga in terms of tone and setting. The character designs were done by Masamu Yuki after all. You then have the one-shot, which was supposed to take place after the events of the manga and lead into EZY, though EZY was already intended to be rooted in TV in the new files. I don't know, we'll figure it out. Aizawa makes an appearance in the one-shot, who was a manga-exclusive character, and episode 3 I'm pretty sure also has another manga-exclusive character as well. So, why do I bring up the manga? Well, in terms of tone, it's basically on TV except more grounded and straightforward. Obviously there will be some comic-y, funny aspects that come with it being a manga, but when it comes to characterization, everyone is more subdued. My main example being Oda. He's real gung-ho and trigger-happy and all the animated stuff, out of control, recklessly causing damage. He retains some of these aspects in the manga, but his outbursts aren't played up as much. He doesn't have animated Oda's trigger finger. He often more than not goes in swinging, making the fight really messy at worst. He still is shown to get the job done. Most people haven't read the manga since it went untranslated for the longest time, so this tone and these depictions would be a bit foreign to those not in the know. On to the visuals. Initially I thought EZY was going to be a much duller show, but I believe this is largely due to the color grading matching the setting. Episode 1 and 3 are obviously intended to take place in colder weather. The colors can get pretty vibrant, which was already established by the opening. The background art is also really good. Whenever we see the insides of the office, there's a lot of detail and color in all the clutter you see on and around the desk areas. One thing I did find odd was whenever there was a scene that obviously took place where they were surrounded by water, such as like the Bay Area, the emptiness can look a little off at times, and I think it could easily be supplemented with some buildings in the distance. They've done a good job at adding depth to their surrounding areas, so I think this critique is reasonable. The character animation is also pretty good. It has a level of cartooniness and slapstick you'd expect from Patlabor. Nothing that goes a little overboard. The show understands how far to stretch the comedic elements. Well, for most of File 1, you either already know or you will know when you watch. Personally, I still found it funny. Now, this is where things will be more debatable. Lots of people have strong feelings about CG and mecha anime, and to be honest, I think at this point, it'd be better to compare CG to other CG rather than comparing it to the classic hand-drawn stuff. The circumstances that would allow the use of hand-drawn mechanical animation have become extremely specific in the modern era, to where it's not even sustainable anymore without the right connections. People say it's still possible, but name a property that had the animators with the technical skill to animate machines that isn't Gundam. We've been doing this for years, and I think it's time to accept that it's here to stay. We still have thousands of examples of magnificent hand-drawn animation done before CG. If you want more mecha anime and the possibility of interest enough for people to start drawing machines again, then it's a compromise we may have to make. If you are of the opinion that you'd much sooner let the genre die than accept CG, then all the power to you, but to me personally that sounds a little selfish. People still like robot anime in this day and age, and many creatives still want to make more. I would love for EZY to be animated like Patlabor 1, the new files, Wasted 13. If I had the ability to choose bubble animation over CG, I would. However, as stated before, that is a lot more unrealistic for today's standards. If you want hand-drawn machines back, then I only have one solution. Start learning how to draw and animate machines. Tell all your friends start doing the same. Have their friends follow suit. Japanese animation has started being outsourced more often to freelance animators internationally. For mecha anime, you not only need skilled animators who can animate machines, but also people who want to animate machines. Japanese animation companies are looking for talent beyond the borders of Japan, so the opportunity is there if we really want it. So, with this tangent I made my point about CG, but if I were to be honest, just because you can accept the compromise does not mean we're in the clear. You can accept CG as a mainstay, but you can't simply be forced to accept the quality of animation because they can only use it. I maintain that CG is different from hand-drawn stuff, so that means you have to determine the quality of CG within its own medium. Is Patlabor EZY's CG good? Generally, I'd say yes, but I think there's more to it that would reasonably lead to debate. Reboot has set an admirable standard as a proof of concept for EZY, especially in the CG work that looked pretty good. Despite this, EZY CG is a little different from Reboot. Obviously, this can be attributed to the fact that Kara was the one responsible for the CG work in Reboot, and Gazen was given the responsibility of this go-around for EZY, likely because Kara would go on to animate the CG for G-Quacks. From my own observation, Reboot CG renders more flatter colors on the labors, such as the Ingram and Bulldog, using subtle airbrush effects on the machines. This is likely an attempt to mimic the standard look for cell shading. EZY, on the other hand, emphasizes higher contrast, potentially in an effort to convey the feeling of depth more easily. EZY also animates the labors at lower frame rates sometimes, lower than that of Reboot when it went low in its frame rate. The result looks a little silly at times, which could be a little distracting. To me, it adds a bit of charm to the animation though. I should also mention that the environment and characters are rendered in three-dimensional space to accommodate the labors, which does allow them to mesh with the environment and their surroundings better. There are a couple of funny moments where this aspect does stick out a little, but the overall decisions to render and animate the labors feels more stylistic than an overall crutch or compromise. With CG, they've greatly emphasized the mechanical aspects of the labors, such as the Ingram and the Hercules. EZY in general takes advantage of the ingenuity that comes with working with machines, the technological progress of the world with the equipment they use and the UI we see showing through. When the CG is at its best with great color choices and high frame rate, I think it rivals the original Reboot short in quality. This is all my thoughts though. You can go proto screw you, you're stupid, and probably just in a thunderhead fall off a cliff if you want. I already pre-ordered File 2, and with what I've seen from File 1, I feel pretty secure in my impulse purchase. If you are a fan of Patlabor and want something akin to early days and on TV, then EZY might be for you. Am I approaching this from a point of bias? Well, of course I am. Have you seen this channel? I'm a big Patlabor fan. Of course I'm going to be biased toward an entry that promised me a fun time. As far as I'm concerned, they delivered. Last thing we'll talk about is the OP. Not even in depth either. I think the entire situation is just stupid. If you're using Reimei Compass as leverage against EZY's overall quality or an attack on all those who helped make it, please don't discuss Patlabor in any capacity anymore. I won't let Patlabor be the series for people to dump their mindless discourse on. You can hate the song, you can hate Moro Calliope. I think it's just a painfully average song that at least does accompany the visuals well. No bias here either. I have never listened to her songs, let alone watched a single VTuber stream. There are justifiable reasons to dislike her. I myself have no strong feelings about her. I'm just here for Patlabor, and that's what I got. When will we get EZY? Well, best case scenario is a staggered release. Likely late August to tie in with the case files, since it's actually getting English support, which would be the first time for a Patlabor video game in history. File 1 doing well gives me hope, but realistically, in the more likely scenario is in 2027 when File 3 releases and they package it all together for a Patlabor EZY Complete Edition ready to go with English subs. Of course, I'm not going to wait that long and will just watch them whenever I get my hands on them. I already have File 1 on the way and pre-ordered File 2 before I even watched File 1. I'm that invested in the project already. In conclusion, I have a positive opinion about Patlabor EZY. A lot of gripes I have with it are negligible at best and will likely be addressed in subsequent releases. Things in regards to character relations and development. I'm not as worried about CG in action, not after episode 2, and I do hope they continue to work their hardest to breathe life back into Patlabor. That being said, follow me on my socials, like, subscribe, and I'll be seeing you.